unlimited drama series.
The champagne bubbles rose lazily in my glass as I watched my wife work the room like a seasoned politician. Sloane had that gift, the ability to make everyone feel like the most important person at the party. Too bad I was starting to realize I wasn't on that list anymore. "Warren, you look thrilled to be here," Petra said, sliding up beside me with that knowing smirk she'd perfected over 15 years of friendship. "Oh, absolutely. Nothing says perfect Saturday night like watching insurance salesmen discuss their golf handicaps." I took another sip of the overpriced champagne. "Thanks for hosting, by the way. Your house looks incredible." Petra's smile faltered slightly. "David insisted on the renovations, said we needed to keep up appearances for his clients." The way she said it told me everything about the state of her marriage. We were both trapped in our own versions of suburban purgatory. The party was typical Petra, elegant, expensive, and filled with people who measured their worth in square footage and luxury car models. I'd been to dozens of these gatherings over the years, watching the same social dynamics play out like a badly written sitcom. The men clustered around the bar discussing business deals they'd never close, while their wives formed tight circles to dissect whoever wasn't present. I was contemplating my escape when I spotted something that made my chest tighten. Across the room, near the elaborate drink station Petra had hired for the evening, Sloane was engaged in what appeared to be an intimate conversation with a man I'd never seen before. Tall, perfectly groomed, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. He had that confident posture that screamed old money and newer arrogance. That's when it happened. My wife of 12 years leaned forward and kissed this complete stranger. Not a peck on the cheek, not an accidental brush of lips. A full, deliberate, lingering kiss that left absolutely no room for misinterpretation. The conversations around me seemed to fade into background noise. Several other guests had noticed too. I could see heads turning, whispered conversations beginning. Mrs. Henderson from down the street actually gasped, loud enough for half the room to hear. I stood there, champagne glass in hand, watching my marriage implode in real time. The rational part of my brain was cataloging details, the way Sloane's hand rested on his chest, how he smiled when they broke apart, the casual way she adjusted her lipstick afterward. The emotional part was somewhere between rage and complete numbness. Sloane caught my eye across the room. For a moment, she looked genuinely startled, like a teenager caught sneaking back into the house. Then her expression shifted to something I recognized, defiant justification. She whispered something to her mystery man and walked toward me with that confident stride that had first attracted me in college. "Warren, honey, you look like you've seen a ghost." Her voice carried that artificially bright tone she used when she was about to gaslight me into questioning my own perception of reality. "Interesting evening," I said, keeping my voice level. "Making new friends?" "Oh, you mean Cole? He's in real estate. Petra introduced us earlier." She waved dismissively as if kissing strangers was just another networking strategy. "We were just talking about the market downtown. That's quite a conversation technique you've developed." Sloane's laugh was too loud, too forced. "Warren, don't be ridiculous. It was just a kiss. People do that at parties. It doesn't mean anything. Just a kiss." The phrase hung in the air between us like a challenge. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. The woman I'd supported through graduate school, who'd shared my dreams of traveling Europe, who'd promised to love and honor me in front of 200 witnesses. She was standing there in her designer dress, telling me that kissing another man was no big deal. "You're absolutely right," I said finally. "Just a kiss." Relief flickered across her features. She'd won again, talked her way out of another uncomfortable situation. Sloane had always been better with words than I was, more persuasive, more willing to bend reality to fit her narrative. I nodded thoughtfully, as if considering her explanation. "You know what? I completely understand." Then, I walked across the room to where Petra was standing with a group of neighbors, discussing the upcoming school board elections. She looked up as I approached, probably expecting me to make some excuse about leaving early. Instead, I placed my hand gently on her cheek and kissed her exactly the way Sloane had kissed her stranger. Slow, deliberate, unmistakably romantic. Petra's eyes widened in surprise, but she didn't pull away. Maybe she was as tired of pretending as I was? The reaction was immediate and spectacular. Sloane's scream cut through every conversation in the house. What the hell do you think you're doing? I stepped back from Petra, who looked dazed but not displeased. The entire party had gone silent, 40 pairs of eyes fixed on our little drama. I could see phones coming out. This was going to be social media gold within the hour. I turned to face my wife with the same casual shrug she'd given me moments earlier. Just a kiss, right? The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Then the whispers started, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. I caught fragments of conversation. Did you see what she did first? He was just returning the favor. About time someone called her on her nonsense. Sloane's face cycled through several shades of red. That's completely different. You can't just what? Kiss someone at a party? I thought you said it didn't mean anything. I kept my voice calm, reasonable. I was just following your lead. You're making a scene, she hissed. Actually, I think you handled that part already. David Vaughn, Petra's husband, had materialized beside us, looking like he'd swallowed something unpleasant. Perhaps we should all take a step back. Perhaps you should ask your wife why she didn't mind being kissed by someone else's husband, Sloane snapped. Perhaps you should ask yourself the same question, Petra said quietly. Her voice was steady, but I could see her hands shaking slightly. The crowd was eating this up. 12 years of being the perfect couple, the ones everyone envied, and it was all falling apart in Petra's pristine living room. I almost felt bad for the social media storm that was about to descend on everyone present. Almost. I think I'll head home, I announced to no one in particular. Thanks for the lovely party, Petra. Very enlightening. I made it halfway to the door before young Tommy Chen, college kid, always had his phone out, approached me nervously. Mr. Driscoll, I got both kisses on video, the whole thing. If you want, I could send it to you. Smart kid. He'd recognized the significance of what he'd witnessed. That's very thoughtful of you, Tommy. Yes, I'd appreciate that. Behind me, I could hear Sloane's voice rising as she tried to regain control of the narrative. Something about misunderstandings and overreactions. But the damage was done. 40 witnesses had seen the sequence of events, and in about 10 minutes, it would be preserved forever on social media. I walked out into the cool October air, leaving my wife to explain herself to a room full of people who'd just watched her get a taste of her own medicine. My phone buzzed before I'd even reached my car. A text from Petra. Thank you. Another buzz. Tommy's video. Crystal clear and perfectly framed. First Sloane's kiss, then mine, then Sloane's meltdown. The timestamp would prove the sequence beyond any doubt. I sat in my car for a moment, watching the lights in Petra's windows, listening to the muffled sounds of animated conversation. My marriage had just ended in spectacular fashion, and somehow I felt lighter than I had in years. Just a kiss, indeed. I woke up Sunday morning to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The video had gone viral within our social circle. Not internet famous, but definitely infamous among everyone we knew. My phone kept buzzing with notifications as friends, neighbors, and acquaintances weighed in on the previous night's entertainment. Sloane hadn't come home. I made coffee in the blessed silence of our kitchen, scrolling through the messages. Most were supportive, surprisingly. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who'd grown tired of my wife's entitled behavior over the years. About damn time someone put her in her place, read one text from my neighbor, Mike. Always knew she was trouble, came another from Janet, Sloane's former yoga instructor. The most interesting message was from Dutch Morrison, an old college friend, who now ran a private security firm. In Portland. Saw the video, we should talk. Coffee later. Dutch had always been perceptive. If he wanted to talk, It meant he'd spotted something I'd missed. At 9:30, my phone rang. Petra. I haven't slept all night, she said without preamble. David moved into the guest room. He's furious. At you or at me? Both, neither. I don't know anymore. She sounded exhausted. Warren, what happened last night was exactly what it looked like. You were tired of being taken for granted, and I was tired of being played for a fool. David's threatening divorce. How do you feel about that? Long pause. Relieved, actually. We've been miserable for years. Last night just gave us an excuse to stop pretending. I understood that feeling completely. Sloan came by this morning, Petra continued. Wanted me to call you. Convince you that the whole thing was a misunderstanding. And I told her to go to hell. I nearly choked on my coffee. Petra never swore, never lost her composure. Good for you. She's planning something, Warren. I've known her for 20 years. That look in her eyes, she's not going to let this go quietly. Before I could respond, I heard a car door slam in my driveway. Through the kitchen window, I watched Sloan march toward the front door like a woman on a mission. She was still wearing last night's dress, her hair slightly disheveled, makeup smeared. She looked like she'd spent the night plotting. She's here, I told Petra. I'll call you back. Sloan didn't knock. She had her key out and was inside before I could reach the foyer. We need to talk, she announced, dropping her purse on the hall table with enough force to rattle the lamp. Good morning to you, too. Don't start with me, Warren, not today. She stalked into the living room, leaving a trail of righteous indignation in her wake. What you did last night was completely out of line. Which part? The kissing or the honesty? She whirled around to face me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in 12 years of marriage. Genuine fear. Not of me, but of the consequences of her actions. You humiliated me in front of everyone we know. Actually, I think you handled that part yourself. I just provided context. It was one kiss, Warren. One meaningless kiss with someone I just met. His name is Cole, and according to 3 different people at the party, you'd been flirting with him for over an hour before I arrived. Her face went pale. She hadn't realized how closely she'd been watched. That's not... People are exaggerating. Are they? Because I have it on good authority that Mrs. Henderson saw you exchange phone numbers with him. I was bluffing, but Sloane's expression told me I'd hit close to the mark. You've been talking to people about me? I haven't had to. They've been talking to me. Apparently, your meaningless kiss was the highlight of their evening. Sloane sank into the leather armchair she'd picked out 3 years ago during her interior design phase. She looked smaller somehow, deflated. What do you want from me, Warren? The truth would be nice. How long have you been seeing him? I'm not seeing anyone. I told you, I just met Cole last night. Cole Ramsey, real estate developer. Divorced last year from Amanda Ramsey, kept the house in Cape Elizabeth. Drives a vintage Porsche and belongs to the Riverside Country Club. The color drained from her face completely. Dutch is very thorough, I continued. Turns out Cole has quite a reputation around town. Married women seem to be his specialty. You had me investigated? I had him investigated. You're just collateral damage. Sloane was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. When she looked up, the fear had been replaced by calculation. Fine. I've been seeing Cole for a few months. It started as a business connection. He was looking for PR help with a new development project. And it became personal when? Does it matter? It does to me. She sighed dramatically, as if I was being unreasonable. July. It became personal in July. 4 months. 4 months of lies, excuses, and late nights at the office. 4 months of me making dinner for one, while she was out with her real estate developer. Are you in love with him? I don't know. Maybe. It's complicated. It's really not. Either you love your husband or you love your boyfriend. Pretty straightforward choice. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You got bored with our marriage and decided to upgrade. The only thing I don't understand is why you didn't just ask for a divorce instead of making me look like an idiot. Sloane's composure cracked slightly. Because I wasn't sure. Cole is exciting and successful and everything you're not. But that doesn't mean I wanted to throw away 12 years of marriage. Everything I'm not. There it was. The real truth she'd been hiding behind all the excuses and justifications. So, you thought you'd keep both of us around until you made up your mind? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Sloan? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you wanted to have your cake and eat it too. She stood up abruptly, pacing to the window that overlooked our backyard. You've gotten so comfortable, Warren. So predictable. When was the last time you surprised me? When was the last time you made me feel special? When was the last time you gave me a chance to? That's not fair. None of this is fair. But at least now it's honest. She turned back to face me, and I could see her shifting strategies in real time. The defiance was fading, replaced by the wounded victim routine she'd perfected over the years. So what happens now? You divorced me over one mistake? One mistake that lasted 4 months. I ended it with Cole last week. The kiss last night was just what? A goodbye kiss? In front of 40 people, including your husband? I was drunk. I wasn't thinking clearly.
187 messages to your gym partner? She's just a friend. Don't send photos like.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
You had 2 glasses of champagne in 3 hours. I was watching. The victim act wasn't working, so she tried a different approach. Sloane moved closer, her voice softening. Warren, we can work through this. People have affairs all the time and save their marriages. We could go to counseling, take a trip somewhere, start over. With what? You just told me I'm everything Cole isn't. Why would you want to start over with someone who disappoints you so fundamentally? I didn't mean that the way it sounded. Yes, you did. And you know what? You're probably right. Cole probably is more exciting than I am. More successful, more adventurous, better looking. But here's the thing, Sloane. I'm also more loyal than he is. More honest. More willing to work on a relationship instead of just replacing it when it gets difficult. So, you're punishing me for being human? I'm protecting myself from being played for a fool any longer. My phone buzzed with another text. This one was from my lawyer, confirming our Monday morning appointment. I'd called him from the car last night, right after leaving the party. Sloane saw me check the message. You already called a lawyer? I called him last night, before I even got home. You made that decision in 10 minutes? I made that decision the moment you told me it was just a kiss. That's when I realized you had no intention of taking responsibility for what you'd done. Warren, please, don't do this. We can fix our marriage. Our marriage ended the moment you decided Cole was more important than your wedding vows. Everything else is just paperwork. She stared at me for a long moment, then picked up her purse from the hall table. You're going to regret this. When you're sitting alone in this house, eating frozen dinners and watching television by yourself, you're going to realize what you threw away. Maybe, but I'll never have to wonder if my wife is lying to me again. After she left, I sat in the quiet house for a while, processing the conversation. 12 years of marriage, reduced to accusations and justifications. It felt surreal. My phone rang. Petra again. How did it go? About as well as expected. She admitted to the affair but wants to work things out. And you? I have a lawyer's appointment tomorrow morning. Warren, what I said yesterday about feeling relieved, I meant it. David and I are done too. This whole mess just gave us permission to admit what we both already knew. Are you okay with that? I'm terrified and excited and guilty all at the same time, but yes, I'm okay with it. Good. You deserve better than David. So do you. Better than Sloane, I mean. Thanks. Listen, Petra, about last night. Don't apologize. It was the most honest moment I've had in years. After we hung up, I made another pot of coffee and started planning my next moves. Sloane thought she could manipulate her way out of this situation, but she'd underestimated how much I'd learned about her tactics over the years. The video from last night was just the beginning. If she wanted to play games, I'd show her what 12 years of marriage to a former investigative journalist could teach a man about finding the truth. My phone buzzed with a text from Dutch. Found some interesting information about your wife's boyfriend. Free for lunch. Dutch Morrison looked exactly the same as he had in college. Thick brown hair, sharp eyes, and the kind of smile that made you wonder what he knew that you didn't. 20 years in private security had only made him better at reading people and situations. Your wife picked a real winner, he said, sliding a manila folder across the table at Murphy's pub. Cole Ramsey is a piece of work. I opened the folder while Dutch ordered another beer. Inside were photographs, financial records, and what looked like surveillance reports. How did you get all this so fast? Ramsey's been on my radar for a while. His ex-wife hired me during their divorce proceedings last year. Guy's a serial cheater with expensive tastes and flexible ethics. The first photograph showed Cole with a blonde woman who definitely wasn't Sloane. They were entering what looked like an upscale hotel. That was taken 3 weeks ago, Dutch explained. The blonde is married to a city councilman. Cole's been juggling at least 3 different women that I know of, including my wife, including your wife. Though from what I can tell, she thinks she's the only one. I flipped through more photographs. Cole with different women, always in expensive locations. Restaurants, hotels, private clubs. The man had a type. Attractive, married, financially comfortable. What's his game? Near as I can figure, he uses these relationships to get inside information about development deals, zoning changes, that kind of thing. The blonde's husband sits on the planning commission. Your wife works in PR and probably knows everyone worth knowing in the business community. So Sloane's just another mark. Looks that way, though I think she believes it's true love. The financial records were even more interesting. Cole was leveraged to the hilt. Expensive cars, expensive apartment, expensive lifestyle. All financed through a web of loans and credit lines. He's broke, I said, scanning the numbers. Worse than broke. He owes money to some people who don't accept late payments gracefully. How much trouble is he in? The kind that makes a man desperate. Desperate enough to accelerate whatever con he's running on your wife and his other lady friends. I closed the folder, processing the implications. Sloane thought she was having an affair with a successful businessman. In reality, she was being manipulated by a con artist who was probably planning to clean out her bank accounts. There's more, Dutch said. I did some digging into your wife's activities over the past few months. Want to know what I found? I nodded, though part of me dreaded the answer. She's been moving money around. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger automatic alerts, but consistent. 500 here, 1,000 there. Always cash withdrawals. How much total? Close to $15,000 over the past 3 months. $15,000. Money I'd assumed was going toward her shopping trips and spa days. Any idea where it went? Not yet, but I can find out. My guess is Cole's been hitting her up for loans. Probably some sob story about cash flow problems or investment opportunities. My phone buzzed. A text from Sloane. Having dinner with my sister tonight. Don't wait up. I showed the message to Dutch, who laughed. Her sister lives in California. I know. Want me to follow her? I considered it for a moment, then shook my head. I already know where she's going and who she's meeting. The question is what I do about it. Depends what you want to accomplish. If you just want a clean divorce, you've got plenty of evidence already. If you want revenge, that's a different conversation. Revenge. The word hung in the air between us like a challenge. 3 days ago, I would have said I wasn't the vengeful type. But 3 days ago, I thought I had a faithful wife. What would revenge look like? Dutch grinned. Now you're talking my language. Cole Ramsey has been playing games with married women for years, leaving a trail of broken homes and empty bank accounts. Your wife has been lying to you for months while spending your money on another man. They both deserve consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind that fit the crime. Public humiliation for both of them. Financial ruin for him. Social exile for her. Make them face the real cost of their choices. Is that legal? Everything I'm suggesting is perfectly legal. Unethical, maybe, but legal. I thought about Sloane's dismissive attitude. Her casual cruelty when she told me I was everything Cole wasn't. I thought about 4 months of lies and $15,000 in secret withdrawals. What do you need from me? Access to your joint accounts, credit card statements, anything that shows the money trail. Authorization to conduct surveillance on both of them, and patience. Good revenge takes time to execute properly. How much time? A few weeks, maybe a month. Long enough to document everything, build an airtight case, and set up the perfect moment for maximum impact. What kind of moment? Dutch's smile turned predatory. Leave that to me. But I promise you this. When we're done, everyone in this town will know exactly what kind of people your wife and her boyfriend really are. I signed Dutch's contract that afternoon and gave him access to our financial records. By evening, he'd already uncovered 2 more cash withdrawals I'd missed and confirmed that Sloan was indeed having dinner with Cole at an expensive restaurant downtown. At home, I sat in my study reviewing everything Dutch had given me: the photographs, the financial records, the evidence of Cole's other relationships. It painted a picture of 2 people who thought they were smarter than everyone around them. They were about to learn otherwise. My phone rang at 10:30. Sloan calling from her sister's house. "Hi, honey, just wanted to let you know I made it safely." "How's Jennifer?" I asked, naming her sister. "She's good. Tired from work, but good. We're going to have a quiet evening, maybe watch a movie." "Sounds nice. Tell her I said hello." "I will. I should be home tomorrow evening. Drive safely." After she hung up, I texted Dutch. "She's sticking to the cover story." His response came back immediately. "They're at his apartment now. Want photos?" "No, I've seen enough." But that wasn't entirely true. I hadn't seen enough. I'd seen too much. Too much evidence of betrayal. Too much proof of deception. Too much confirmation that my marriage had been a lie for months. I poured myself a scotch and sat on the back deck, looking out at the yard. Sloan and I had landscaped together 3 summers ago. We'd planted those rose bushes to celebrate our 10th anniversary. She'd insisted on the expensive varieties, the ones that required constant attention and specialized care. Like our marriage, they'd looked beautiful from a distance, but demanded more maintenance than they were worth. Tomorrow, Dutch would begin the real investigation. Within a week, we'd have enough evidence to destroy both Sloan and Cole in court and in the community. Within a month, they'd both be facing consequences they'd never imagined. "Just a kiss," Sloan had said. By the time I was finished, she'd understand that some kisses cost more than others. My phone buzzed with one final message of the day, this one from Petra. "David moved out this afternoon. I feel like I can breathe again." I texted back, "The best is yet to come." For both of us. 3 weeks into Dutch's investigation, the evidence was overwhelming. Cole Ramsey wasn't just a serial cheater. He was running a sophisticated con game that had netted him over $200,000 from various women over the past 2 years. "Look at this," Dutch said, spreading photographs across my kitchen table. "Same pattern every time. He targets married women with money and access to business information. Wines and dines them, makes them feel special, then starts asking for small favors. Information about zoning meetings, introductions to city officials, eventually cash loans for temporary cash flow problems." The photos showed Cole with 6 different women, always in expensive settings: hotels, restaurants, private clubs. Each woman looked successful, confident, completely unaware she was being played. What happened to the others? 2 divorced their husbands and lost half their assets when Cole disappeared. One is still married but cleaned out her kids' college funds, trying to keep him happy. The other 3 figured out the con before it was too late, but not before he'd gotten significant money from each of them. And now he's working on Sloan. Your wife's been his biggest score yet. $23,000 over 4 months. Plus, she's been feeding him inside information about development projects her PR firm is handling. 23,000. I'd found the additional 8,000 in credit card advances Sloan had been hiding. "There's more," Dutch continued. "Cole's in serious trouble with some loan sharks. He owes them 50,000, and they're not the patient type. My guess is he's planning to make one final big score and disappear, using Sloan. Using all of them. He's been pushing each woman to access larger amounts of money. Retirement accounts, home equity loans, business lines of credit. Classic conman endgame. Grab everything you can and run." I studied the surveillance photos Dutch had taken over the past week. Sloan meeting Cole at various locations, always looking happy and relaxed. She had no idea she was being documented. No clue that her secret relationship was about to become very public knowledge. "When do we move?" "Soon. But first, we need to set the stage properly. Maximum impact requires the right audience." "What did you have in mind?" Dutch pulled out his phone and showed me an event listing. "The Chamber of Commerce annual dinner is next Friday. 500 of the most influential people in town, including most of your mutual friends, Sloane's business contacts, and Cole's potential victims. They'll both be there? Guaranteed. Sloane's firm is handling PR for the event, and Cole never misses a networking opportunity. Perfect venue for a public revelation. What kind of revelation? Dutch's smile was predatory. The kind that ends careers and destroys reputations. I've been in contact with 3 of Cole's previous victims. They're ready to go public with their stories, especially if it means stopping him from hurting other women. And Sloane? Your wife made her choices. She chose to lie to you, steal from you, and betray your marriage. Now she gets to face the consequences in front of everyone she's been trying to impress. I felt a moment of hesitation. Sloane had hurt me badly, but public humiliation seemed extreme. Second thoughts? Dutch asked, reading my expression. Maybe. This feels bigger than what she did. Warren, your wife didn't just have an affair. She's been systematically deceiving you for months while helping a con man target other women in your community. She's not an innocent victim. She's an accomplice. He was right. The financial records showed that Sloane had introduced Cole to at least 2 other women, both wives of her business contacts. She knew what he was doing and helped him do it. What do you need from me? Just show up at the dinner and act surprised when everything comes out. I'll handle the rest. How? Let me worry about the details. But I promise you this. By